Bob Scanlon, Fox Sports San Diego.
Hey, Joe, congratulations. Welcome to the Padres. And it only took 10 years and three different organizations for you to get back to your roots. But what does it mean for you to now be a part of the organization that you grew up watching?
Oh, it feels so special, man. I'm sure my parents are probably just as excited, if not more excited, about me being back home, and my mom being full-blooded Sicilian. She's excited she gets to continue to cook for me and be the mom. So they're really excited about it. But I'm thrilled, man. I mean, going into the off season, I knew the chances of me getting traded were pretty high, and I think ideally what I'm looking for is, a team that's going to compete and a team that will be contending for a playoff spot and for a World Series title every year. And it just so happens to be that. Oh, I'm sorry, guys, I got something on my screen. Hold on. It just so happens to be, my hometown. It makes it that much more special, and the memories and the place where my dream of being a professional baseball player really started was in San Diego at Qualcomm and at Petco. So, to be back in my hometown representing the city that I grew up in and where all my dreams started, it's extremely special.
You'd mentioned that it's not much of a surprise that you got traded. The rumors about that have been going on for quite a while. There have been some names like the Yankees and the Blue Jays. Had you heard any rumors that the Padres might be one of those teams? And if so, when, or did this catch you by surprise at all?
Yeah, I did a little bit early on in the offseason. When I saw that the Padres picked up Darvish and Snell, I kind of thought my chances had slimmed down quite a bit. I knew that the Pirates weren't going to give me up for just anything. It was going to be a pretty good package in return. So as those guys started rolling in, I thought my chances were getting less and less. And, the last little bit of hope hearing from guys like Clevenger about, them speaking good words about me to the front office guys with San Diego was giving me that last little bit of hope that there was still a chance.
Hey, last year was a great year for you, shortened, but still you put up some career numbers for yourself in ERA, and also some of the top numbers in terms of strikeout ratios and average exit velocity amongst all starters in Major League Baseball. What did you do different last year that sort of put you in that category?
I really just dove into the guys that were around me. I can't say that I did a whole lot different. I mean, at the end of 19, I made a few adjustments with my delivery, with my arm action, and I was really doing it more so just to create a little more consistency and a little bit more health. That's been a big issue for me is staying healthy throughout my career, and being able to have a full season of health in 19 and do well. Building on that into the off season, I came in with an idea and a better plan of what I wanted my delivery to look like and how I was going to pan out my season as far as workouts and recovery and treatment kind of things. But I think what I attribute to, the solid year to was just, diving into the people that were around me, like my pitching coaches, my other trainer, my other players that I'm around, our analytics team, using those guys and not being afraid to ask questions and ask for help, and looking into more of what my pitches or which ones of my pitches are really the ones that are producing the best for me, and getting the best results. Where, at times in the past, I've been so stubborn in my ways of thinking that these three pitches are my best pitches to righties, these are my best to lefties, and I wouldn't let anyone tell me different, because there's a certain level of conviction you have behind that. But diving into the numbers and looking at what actually is producing the best for me and which one, which of my pitches have the best productivity, it gave me a lot more confidence in throwing some of those pitches that I might not have felt were my best, but actually were my best.
Thanks, Joe. Great to have you on board.
Yeah, thank you.
Next, we'll go to Annie Halbert with UT.
Hey, Joe, can you talk a little bit about what it looked like for you growing up as a Padres fan? How did you express that? How would you describe, going to games? I don't know, autographs, posters, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, my dad, he was a cop for 20 years in San Diego. He's a private investigator now, so he's been in the law system for a while, and he had some really close friends when I was a kid, and Kevin Mitchell was one of them. And Kevin Mitchell was over at the house all the time, and taking me to to the field to work lessons and doing little things. So my dad introduced me to the game at a really young age, and put me around the right people, to help grow my love for the game. And I remember waiting for him every day when he got home from work to pick me up and take me down to the stadium. We would go pretty often at Qualcomm, but by the time they went to Petco, we had season tickets. And we were out in right field, right above the right field wall. I remember my first ball I got thrown to me in the stands was from Mark Kotze. Jake Peavy was my favorite pitcher growing up with the Padres. Just his his personality and the attitude that he pitched with was kind of the same, the same way I felt that I was when I was on the field. And I was always a little bit afraid to let my emotions show and to get too emotional on the field, but seeing a professional and a big leaguer go out and compete and show his emotion and show the passion that he had kind of gave me that confidence that, what I was doing was okay.
I'm sure as a kid, you were in the stands when the Beat LA chant was going. You're familiar with the rivalry with the Dodgers, which has heated up even more in the last year as the Padres get closer. And of course, you have overcome them yourself in the World Series. What do you think that this team, where do you think that it is as far as getting past the Dodgers? And does it take on a whole new meaning for you now to beat LA, to be part of a hometown team that is literally trying to get ahead of this opponent in front of them?
Yeah, I mean, if you grew up in San Diego, beat LA was a chant that was ingrained in you as a kid. I'm excited to be a part of that rivalry. It's the biggest rivalry that I grew up around in sports. So to be a part of that is really cool. But I think all the pieces are there. I think it took a little bit of experience of getting into the playoffs and seeing what that atmosphere is like. Granted, it was during the COVID season where there wasn't a full stadium, but just understanding what the leverage or what the what's the word I'm looking for, what the severity is of those games and the intensity that comes with it. It's hard for people that haven't been in the postseason for a while to get in their first year and run all the way through and not hit some speed bumps along the way. So I know all those guys that competed in their last year and made it to the round that they did. That leaves a real sour taste in your mouth, I'm sure. And getting a little bit of experience of what it's like in those big moments and just understanding now how to calm yourself down, how to even prepare going into those games mentally. Those are all things that you don't get unless you actually get put in that situation. So
thanks so much.
We'll go to Bernie Wilson with the AP.
Hey, Joe, welcome back to the hood.
What's up, Bernie?
Not much. How you doing? You in East County right now?
I'm actually down in PB. I'm at a little Airbnb. I was living in Bankers Hill this off season. And I intended on going out to Arizona for a little bit, but decided to stick around for the last 2 weeks to kind of see what was going to happen with trades and if I was going to get moved or not. And sure enough, I ended up back in San Diego. So
okay, cool.
I'm in PB right now.
Well, East County is very excited. Fletcher knows everything.
Yeah.
You won a World Series, so you know what it takes. Padres have high expectations. Their fans certainly do. From what you see on paper, I know it's early and it's back to being a marathon, but do you think the Padres are capable of doing it?
Absolutely, man. You look at the caliber of players on this team and the types of personalities. I don't know a ton of these guys very well, but I've played against them a lot, and I know a lot of guys that have played with them. And it doesn't just take a talented team. It takes a little bit of grit, a little bit of personality, a little bit of swagger. It takes all those things to make a good team, and it really takes a good camaraderie amongst the group. Guys that trust in each other, guys that will play for the guy next to them and not for themselves. There's so many things that make up a championship caliber team, and this team seems to have every one of them.
All right, thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
Marty Caswell, 1360.
Hi, Joe. What was your dad's reaction when we got the news that you were traded to San Diego? And does he still have season tickets behind home plate?
He does not, but he was extremely thrilled. My dad's had some health issues in the past, which is partially handicapped him where he just has a difficult time getting around. So he doesn't get to make it out to nearly as many games as he would like to with flights and whatnot. And his health puts him a little bit more at risk for symptom or for diseases like COVID and certain other ones. So he's always been a little bit, held back when it comes to being able to travel and watch me play. So they make when I come to San Diego to play, they came. When we went to Arizona, they would drive out. Anything in LA or up the coast, they were always coming. But to be able to have his son, who he raised and provided everything for me to get to this level, for him to be able to be in the same town as me and watch me play every night is extremely special for him.
And as a San Diego sports fan, I'm sure you're well aware of the void left in this city when the NFL team left. How much would it mean for you to be part of a team that brought the first championship to San Diego?
It'd mean the world. I got a lot of friends and a lot of people that I grew up with and a lot of family that have high expectations for me in San Diego. And I can promise you that they're not any higher than the expectations I have for myself here. That's the ultimate dream. Anywhere you play, you're trying to win a championship, but no championship would mean more than one for my own city.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll go to AJ Cassavell, MLB.com.
Hi, Joe. I'm wondering what you're looking forward to most about being in a rotation with all of these big time arms.
Just getting to learn from these guys, man. That's kind of one of the most exciting things about a trade is you get a whole clubhouse, an entire new staff full of minds to learn from, different experiences, different philosophies, different theories on approaches. You feel like you're making your debut all over again. You just got a brand new caliber of player and different minds to learn from and grab things. And especially when you look at our rotation now, I think we got three opening day or three aces of the staffs added to this team. So I'm extremely excited to just get around those guys and see what they have for me and what I can learn from them.
Next, we'll go to Kevin Easty with the UT.
So you said that, you thought the chances of you being traded here diminished. The fact that you actually were traded here after they got those other two guys, what does that say to you about what the Padres are trying to do?
Yeah, they're not messing around, man. I mean, another piece of being able to make it deep into the playoffs and make a World Series run is having some depth. And, although it seemed like they had a pretty good rotation before they added me, just adding an extra arm in there that's experienced some of those moments, and that, hopefully they agree that I feel like I'm a pretty good competitor. It just gives you another arm and a little bit more depth. And, I'm sure there's other guys like Gore and some of the prospects they have coming up that could fill my role just as easily, but you need depth in this game. And, you never know who's going to go down with injuries or what's going to happen to limit the staff. So the more you can have, the better.
When you came back that last, 4 or 5 starts, your velocity was up a little bit. You were highly effective. Just how much did that time off help? What was the process of last season where you finished so strong?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's really hard to go out there, and people always tell you, pitch with confidence, pitch with conviction. And when you're not 100%, you can go out there and give it your all, but sometimes your all is not good enough if you're not healthy. So, like I said, really trying to figure out a routine for my training and my recovery, and just really understanding. I've always been somebody that has a hard time accepting, praise if I don't feel like I've done the work to earn it. And so sometimes that means I got to sit back and take the days off when my body's telling me to take a day off, and not force myself to get out there and work myself into the ground. And that was something I had a really hard time with coming to grasp with for a while. But I feel like last year I really showed myself that, I got to take those necessary days when they're needed and let myself recover.
Next, we'll go to Adam McLeod, 97.3.
Hey, Joe, you've obviously talked about what it means emotionally to return to San Diego, but what about on the field? You obviously experienced quite a bit of success in Houston, but then the Pirates obviously not as much. What does it mean to return after experiencing what you did with the Pirates, to return to a team that looks like they're on the verge of playing some very meaningful baseball?
I mean, that's what you play for when you get a chance to play in the postseason, like I did with Houston. That your expectation and your desires for that caliber of baseball, it just raises the bar completely. It's hard. You got to play with the situation that you're in, and not to say that anybody in Pittsburgh was going out there trying to lose, but we just didn't have the caliber of players that San Diego has. And we gave it our all out there, but it's a lot different when you take them out and you got all-star after all-star behind you and Gold Glovers. You can pitch a little bit differently, the confidence and the conviction that you have. And, it really does feel like a 9-on-1 matchup, with an infield like that. So it's extremely exciting for me.
And then there's been a lot of talk about pitchers and with the reduced workload from last season with the shortened season and throwing fewer innings and then going back to a regular length season this year. How do you expect to be able to, or what can you do in terms of getting ready for that expanded workload?
I don't know. I don't think anybody really has an answer for that. This is the first time anyone's had to do it. But everyone's playing by the same rules here. So it's really just going to come down to who can figure it out fastest and who can get it figured out. I know for myself, like we just talked about, managing those days off and really trying to get quality reps in when I'm out there so I can get my work in and get out in a minimal amount of throws and not be out there, throwing for 60, 70 throws a day, trying to figure stuff out. I'm not really sure what it's going to look like. I'm sure these are all things that the coaching staff has taken into account, and I'm sure they're going to have a plan for us. And, in the next couple of days, I'll be down at Petco Park talking with some of those guys and getting some workouts in and kind of seeing what they have laid out for us.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
We have time for a few more questions. We'll go to Darnay Tripp, NBC.
Hey, Joe, good to see you and welcome back to town. Curious, when did you get the SD logo tattoo logo tattoo on your arm?
Dude, it's funny. I was FaceTiming my grandma today. They on one of the, I don't know what paper it was, but I got a picture from my aunt this morning of a big shot of me on the front page of some sports page, I think in San Diego, but my grandma had it. And they sent a picture of her staring at it. And they're like, she's been looking at this picture for an hour straight and she hasn't put it down. So I FaceTimed her and I pulled my sleeve up. I got this tattoo when I was 18 years old. It was one that I hand drew in my room. It was a baseball with the San Diego logo in it. It had my last name and the year I was born on it. And I was just so fired up to get a tattoo. I came home and showed my grandma and she about to smack me in the head and said, "What are you doing? You don't even know if the Padres are going to draft you. What are you, crazy?" Just chewing me out. And I was just telling her that it was more so significant of being from San Diego than it was for the actual Padres. But I FaceTimed her today. I said, "Remember how stupid you made me feel when I got this in 18? I said, "I told you it'd play out." So we had a cool little moment for that. But yeah, I've had that one since I was 18.
And that was the first tattoo?
That was my first one, yeah.
What's it been like just kind of watching now from a distance, really over the last couple of years, the Padres, aside from just the acquisitions, the deadline and this offseason, like you mentioned, but with Tatis just building the excitement, being, according to a lot of people, the most exciting team in baseball, all the publicity they got, obviously making the playoffs. How was that as a hometown guy and a baseball guy, just watching that play out from a distance?
Dude, it's really cool, man. And, I got to experience it firsthand in Houston. When I got traded to Houston, they were the worst team in baseball. I think 111 losses and nowhere near even sniffing the playoffs. And I was in the minor leagues at the time, but seeing the moves that were made with the coaching group, with how they were running the minor league system, with the guys that they were bringing in and trading for, I got to really live that uprising of the Houston Astros organization. And it's very similar to what you see in San Diego. And the more I'm around the game, you start to realize that from a fan's standpoint, it's always upsetting if your team's not making the moves to get the big name players and whatnot. But, it's not an easy job for these GMs, and you got to really pick your window of time of when you think you can maximize it. And it's not about just winning for 1 year. You're trying to build something sustainable that can be good for multiple years and win multiple championships. So it's impressive to see what Preller and his team have done here.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
Next up, Dennis Lynn, The Athletic.
Hi, Joe. Going off that, how much of the, reputation shift the Padres have undergone the last couple of years have you noticed just when talking to other players around the league? Has that been a pretty big shift in terms of just the conversation around them?
Yeah, man, it's a certain level. I mean, everybody at the big league level deserves, a certain level of respect. But if you're a player and you're in the fight, there's sometimes when you just feel like you're overpowering a team and that you're beating them. And over the years, the word on the Padres has definitely changed over the last handful of years, whereas they're taken very seriously now as a serious contender team. And, that lineup from top to bottom, there's not many weak spots there. It's not like you come in and you can really game plan for one or two guys in the lineup. There's, top through bottom, 1 to 9. It's you have to create a game plan for every one of those guys and even the guys coming off the bench.
Speaking of that lineup, I think a couple of years ago, Tatis had a couple crazy base running plays in Pittsburgh. What are your impressions of him so far?
He plays fast, man. He plays with his hair on fire. And, those are the kind of guys that I love playing behind me. That it's special to see a talent like his, but to see him have the whole package, the personality, the bat, the arm, the glove, he's got everything there is to like about a player. And I'm just really glad he's on my side now.
All right, we'll wrap up here with Jason from the Post-Gazette.
Hey, Joe, good to see you, man, and congratulations. Just wanted to ask you kind of what Pittsburgh meant to you. I know it's kind of a weird stop between Houston and San Diego, but how did it help you grow as a player being here?
Yeah, man. You don't really realize the impact that certain things have on you. You don't take them for what they're going to be for you at the time. When I first got traded to Pittsburgh, my initial instincts were, man, it's upsetting going from a World Series winning team you know, to a team that's not necessarily in the same situation that Pittsburgh's going to be in for the next handful of years. And then I get there, and you know, within the first month or so, you feel like right at home. Everyone welcomed me in extremely well. I feel like my personality and how I was raised really fits in with the city of Pittsburgh. You know, I'm bummed that I didn't get a chance to make a postseason run with that team and experience what that stadium's like in the postseason. But for myself as a pitcher, there was so much growth for me there, and you know, forcing myself to step into a bigger role than I might have been ready at the time. You know, trying to be somewhat of a leader on that team and getting my first opening day start was a lot of things that, you know, I didn't necessarily expect. Being with a team like Houston, you get traded and everything gets flipped, and it's a completely different expectation and a different level that you're playing at. So the things that I gained, sorry guys, the things that I gained there when I was playing are things that are going to help me in my time in San Diego. And you know, the realistic part about playing in Pittsburgh is it didn't seem like, you know, we were going to be a playoff contending team this year, but it doesn't mean that the mental approach that I take every day isn't still preparing to be a playoff and World Series caliber player. And the guys that we had on that team and the coaching staff that we were around really prepared me for those things. So coming here, I don't feel like I've been, you know, in a hole for the last 3 years. I feel like I've been well prepared. I've been coached well. I had great teammates there that I learned a lot from, and I'm gonna be able to take all those things and implement them into my time here in San Diego.
Thank you, Joe.
Thanks.
All right, everybody. Thank you again for joining us today. And thank you, Joe, for your time. We appreciate it. And really excited to have you join us here in San Diego and look forward to meeting you in person.
Thanks for taking the time, guys. Nice to meet everybody.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Joe.
Joe.
Thank you.
Good night.